Hello, friends. This is Chandrakant, and you are most welcome on Akulmach Live. And we are starting a new live stream, and this is the first episode of that live stream, and we call it AAA. And AAA stands for, we analyze. So we call it Akulmach AltAnalyze, and that's what the AAA stands for. Uh, the topic for our discussion would be about the crisis which may emerge in the solar panels and why it is a crisis. So we will actually analyze this in detail. But before that, let me go to my main screen where you can actually see what I'm going to talk about. And on this screen, you can actually also chat with me on this using chat, and if I see your chats, I can actually, if you have a question, I can answer that. So without further ado, let's start the discussion, and it's about the crisis which may be emerging in the solar panel pricing. And so before we start, I think we have to understand what is a solar panel and what it is made of. So it is obviously made of some material which is quite expensive. And why it is expensive? Simply because it is made of something called rare earth elements. And what are these rare earth elements? These are not in particularly expensive material, but these are simply rare on earth. But it could be found elsewhere in abundance in this space, but on earth it is rare. And fortunately or unfortunately, whatever advancement that the mankind has seen for the last 100 years is based on these rare earth elements. And so most of the microchip technology is made using these rare earth element. Obviously these rare earth elements are excavated and purified, and there are different activities which is related to mining and metallurgy. Most of these elements, for whatever reason, are actually found in China. So China has monopoly on these elements. They excavate them, they purify them, and then they supply it to rest of the world. And countries like India, US, UK, and rest of other countries who have the capabilities, Japan, to make microchips, they use these rare earth element to make microchips. And one of these elements is also called polysilicon. That is also rare. And the solar panels, what you get in the market, are made of the polysilicon, which also China has a monopoly at the moment. And that is why, if you take the context of India, to light a bulb, you need to invest in the range of 30 to 50,000 rupees just to light a bulb. And majority of it, almost 90% of the cost, will go towards the solar panel, which will be able to light your bulb. Well, solar panels are very, very advantageous because it's like one-time investment, and after that there will be no dependency on the grid. So that is why China understands, and there is a pricing, and there's availability, and the whole lot of solar panels are actually manufactured out of China and shipped to world over. Or even the polysilicons are manufactured as a element and then shipped, so that the raw material, as a raw material, people and factories who have the capability can use that raw material and makes solar panels and supply locally. So when we talk about these rare earth element, we have to also talk about the semiconductors. So most of the technology that we use today are semiconductors, and so are the solar cells, because what happens is when the light fall on the solar cell, the material in the cell is actually releases an electron, and that flows as an electric current, and that is what generate electricity. So during the daytime, we need to invest in battery system also, so that the power can be stored in the battery, and then in the night we can use it, or during the day, depending on what is the power of that solar panel, we can use it, or we can store it, or both. So when we are talking about the price crisis, I think as we are moving towards uh, the climate change regulations, and recently just last week G7 summit finished, and one of the main critical item was climate change. And in order to improve the climate across the world, I think we need to get onto electric bandwagon. So electric cars are being manufactured, um, uh, solar panels are being manufactured so that the household electricity can run on the solar panels. At the same time, there are a lot of experiments being done on the wind, as well as waves in the ocean. And so different countries have different elements which are available. In a country like India, there is a lot of sun, so I think it makes sense to go the solar way. And on the parallel, there are a lot of development happening on the battery technology also, because the current technology of battery cannot store a lot of charge or a lot of power. So the battery technology also requires a lot of research and development. And because of that, Mr. Elon Musk has shifted his gigafactory to India for R&D and also manufacturing battery, because that is the key here. But in the beginning, I think that we need to get the solar panels, and we need to get the solar panels at low cost. And when there are global impetus being provided, so that we take care of our environment, don't burn the fossil fuel, get the cars run on electricity, and then charge them when we reach home, and so on. So that is why I think there is a requirement for bringing the cost of this technology down. Or we have to do some other research where the solar panels, as we buy them today, may not be the solar panels that we need, because the solar panels itself are so expensive. Given the point that once you invest that amount, that technology will last for you for about 20 to 30 years. That is given. But initial investment is very, very expensive. So that is why it requires major investment in terms of R&D. Maybe we need different kinds of solar panels which are more efficient, low cost, availability, low cost, and easy to distribute, easy to install, and also generate electricity. Maybe something related to infrared, so that the power can be generated even during nighttime, because infrared is always present. So we don't know. The current quality of solar panels are made using the material which are only found in China or only excavated in China, and there is an entire supply chain out of that as a raw material. And then since there are sort of monopoly, the material which are used to build solar panels is quite expensive, and therefore the end product is also quite expensive. Say for example, if we have to completely go solar in a normal household with ACs, with kitchen appliances, refrigerator and everything, we would need at least a power generation of something like 5 to 6 kilowatt power generation. That means we should have a system which can store 5 to 6 kilowatt for just one day, and next day 5 to 6 kilowatt can be regenerated. And sometimes there are clouds, and the current technology of solar panels does not generate so much of power. So I think there is what you do. I mean, if you want to power your house completely on solar panels with using solar power, you basically increase the number of panels that you have, so that increases the cost. So I think this is one environment related question. And while everyone talk about changes that we need to do, we need to bring about as a corporate, as individual, as countries, as people, and as citizen of this world. But however, the bottleneck is the pricing. And very soon, when everybody start talking about the solar panel or other unconventional power devices, the availability will be a very big issue. And that is why I am bringing this discussion point. And it's one of the trending subject, because last week G7 summit also ended on a very critical juncture, and the main agenda was climate change and what we should do. There is a comment from Edify Learning, and they said that the literacy related to environment is also very necessary, which is very true. Edify Learning, thank you for your comment. And I'm sure there are a lot of learning, a lot of governments are actually pushing. I know for sure that the Indian government is pushing quite hard in terms of making sure that we generate a lot of solar, because India is a sort of a tropical country by and large, and there's a lot of sun, and there are many areas where not many people live, like desert area, which are very ideal for collecting that solar power and generating the power. So there is a Indian government which has started a lot of plans in order to shift power generation from thermal, hydro to solar power. So there is a comment from Sarla Verma, and I think Sarla Verma is talking about countries coming together, and basically that was the G Summit is all about. So thank you so much, Sarla Verma, for your comment. I think this is very important. So I was talking about India initiative in terms of power. I think the India has said that as a country that they want to shift from hydro and thermal to solar, simply because there's a lot of sun, there's availability, there's a lot of empty space in areas where nobody lives. So we can simply put millions of solar panels and generate. So far the target has been set to about 25% power will come from the solar. And the way it is being done is the current grid will also have a grid for solar, so that the power can be generated and transmitted through the same grid to our homes. So a lot of such initiatives are being taken up by the government of India. And but at the same time, I think there are solar panels required. And while the prices are high, I think availability also, as more and more people start buying solar, the prices will even go up because of the demand and supply formula. And because of that, the crisis will then will become real in terms of availability, because if a lot of people start demanding for solar panels, obviously there is not enough rare earth element, and as the name suggests that these are very rare on earth. So I think there will be a demand and supply issue, and there will be a crisis which is just staring at glaring. We are just glaring at that crisis, which is how do we generate our power in future with the current technology. So a couple of things that will happen here. Number one, we may have to change the materials completely. We don't have to use polysilicon, which is a rare earth element, and few people have monopoly on supply, excavation, purification, etc. on this particular thing, which is used in making the solar cells. So we need to find out other ways of generating power through solar using some other material which is found in abundance. Once that happens, it will change the whole dynamics. If we are able to come up with a technology which is lot cheaper to manufacture, produces electricity any time of the year. Most of the European countries have the challenge because they don't have a lot of sun, so they depend on the wave technology. They are actually doing a lot of R&D in generating electricity from the waves which they get from their oceans. But if there is a different alternate technology available which can generate power, even if the sun is not very bright, then we solve the problem, and the whole dynamic of power generation will change completely. um, the power generation right now exists in the form of huge cables going from a hydro power generation plant all the way across the country, across the length and breadth of millions of kilometers, and then finally it reaches our home. And then there are a lot of step up transformers on the way. So I think that's not the way, because there's a whole lot of infrastructure is required, whole lot of maintenance is required. If something if there is a hurricane, the wire breaks, and the power also stops, and subsequent onward households and cities. So I think the way the power distribution exists today with solar, I think we are going to save all of that. We don't need step up transformers, we don't need all the cables, we don't need all the towers, and so on and so forth. So I think the dependency on the type of solar panels that we get is quite high at this point in time. And because of that, although a lot of people are using power from the grid, and there are very few who are actually opting to go 100% solar. But I think as the government are saying that, hey, let's get into solar, I think when more and more people start demanding solar, and with electric cars coming on the road, you need power to give them power. So and there are a lot of remote locations, because that is the bottleneck when it comes to electric car. It runs fine when you're in your city, but moment you get into upcountry scenario, you don't have a power charging points. And the best way to set up a charge point is using solar. So you just set up the whole structure, you just plug in your car, go for coffee, and the power will be taken from the solar panel. So I think instead of laying cables, because laying cable will be very expensive, but putting a solar charge point for charging an electric car will be very practical. So I think that is where the situation is. And the India as a country has set up a target of 2030 that they want to basically replace all internal combustion engine vehicles by electric. And there are more than 300 to 400 startups working on in this arena, where they are actually working on two-wheelers, trikes, and four-wheelers. So a lot of R&D is being done. There are a lot of efficient ways of how do we basically get the range increased on a per charge basis. So a lot of this kind of development is also happening within India. But in the end, the bottleneck will be the solar panels, where it all starts. So the subject today is trending, because I think it's one of the trending topics. How do we get the solar technology made available for a common human being? Because right now it is beyond reach. In fact, I was watching a program where somewhere in Africa, one young lad has come out with a gravity light. So it is again an innovation. It does not work on the solar panel, but it works on a simple gravity principle, where and it's very useful for a poor family, where they just buy this light and hang it from the roof, and it will slowly keep falling, because the gravity is pulling the light towards the ground. And as it is falling, there is a wheel which rotates and generates power, which is sufficient to light that diode. And this way also, you don't need to spend a lot of money, but you can generate a lot of power by using different mechanisms. But I think the whole point that I want to discuss is, how do we bring this cost down? And very soon, I think in 1 or 2 years, the pricing will be so high because of the demand and supply, that the solar panels will be even more expensive from today's standard. And there is a crisis which is brewing up. So friends, let me end my monologue today. And some people actually got engaged, and look forward to your comments, look forward to your indulgence in my discussion. I will be coming every day, and we will be discussing on pressing matters, and I appreciate your indulgence in these discussions. And the name of the program is AAA, and it is powered by Akulmach Live, which is our channel. So go over to YouTube and subscribe to our channel also, so that you can watch the replays. But I will catch you tomorrow. For today, I like to say goodbye.